Hello, good afternoon, everyone who's joining. Welcome to the Sustainability for Quality, Safety, Health, and Environment Professionals. It will be myself and Mark today who are going to be hosting. We're going to give some time for everyone to join for a few minutes. So in the meantime, for those of you who are already in the webinar, feel free to start using the chat. Maybe let us know where you're from, what company you're dialing from, if you're dialing from a company. And if you already have any burning questions, you can use the Q&A box as well, and we will go back to those questions at the end of the webinar, and we'll try to answer all of those. Hello to everyone who's just joining.
That's great, Susie, thank you.
Canada and England, that's great.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is there anyone from Ireland today? St. Patrick's Day, after all. And yeah, I'm probably the only Irish person going to be on this call, I think.
Good commitment.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you have someone saying Guinness. Amazing. Welcome, everyone who's just joining us. Welcome to the Sustainability for QHSE Professionals, hosted by myself and Mark. We're just giving a few moments until everyone joins, maybe 2 more minutes, and then we will start the webinar. Got people from around the world. See India, Texas, Portugal. Amazing. Welcome, everyone. So are you celebrating today, Mark?
Later on, yes. Hopefully I'll get out for some celebrations.
Perfect. Good way to end the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's always a few Irish bars around open on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I live in The Hague, and apparently there's the best Irish bar outside of Ireland here. So, oh, we have someone from Cork, Ireland. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone saying they're Irish in heart. That's always nice to see.
Good stuff.
Welcome, everyone. For those who just joined, we're just giving it a few moments until everyone has time to dial into the webinar. And we will start in about 2 minutes. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. And if you already have any questions that you would like us to answer at the end of the webinar, then you can also use the Q&A box, and we will look at those questions at the end. Maybe there's already some questions you came with. Hopefully we'll answer most of those throughout in the next hour. I think maybe give it 1 more minute.
Okay, that's cool.
And just for those who are not in the chat, we do have our colleague Margarita who will be in the chat moderating it. So if you have any questions, something is not working, or anything that we mentioned and you would like more information, then feel free to message her, and I'm sure that she will assist you. Thanks, Margarita, for sending the message in the chat. Super.
I think
we can get started.
Okay.
So for all of those who have joined us now, welcome to the Sustainability for QHSE Professionals webinar hosted by myself and Mark. Throughout this hour, hopefully we will provide you with some additional information on sustainability, why it's important, how you can implement it within your departments and within your companies. So welcome, everyone. If you have any questions throughout the webinar about any technical stuff or anything we mentioned, feel free to include that in the chat. Otherwise, we do encourage you to use the Q&A box where you can ask any questions that you would like more elaborate answers on, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the webinar. Or we might also send you a bit more elaborate answer afterwards if we do not have the time. But feel free to use both of those. And then let's just get started. So first off, we can introduce ourselves. Mark, maybe if you'd like to go first.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning from some people maybe in America. Yes, so I'm Mark Masterson, a senior sustainability consultant with Nextio Projects. I joined Nextio last year, but my environmental and sustainability career started back in Ireland, where I was a sustainability consultant for about 5 or 6 years, supporting companies with EIA, environmental impact assessments, on major infrastructure projects, and also on permitting for various facilities, for example, pharmaceuticals. I moved to the Netherlands about 10 years ago and joined the offshore oil and gas sector as an environmental manager, starting out as supporting operations from an environmental perspective, working with ISO management systems and generally permitting and environmental improvement. But about 5 years ago, I got more interested in sustainability. It became more obvious to me that sustainability was in the zeitgeist, in the media, it was important. And I felt that within my company was possibility to work on this. So maybe a bit like yourselves, understood that sustainability was part of the HSE project, but further than that, realized it's more than just HSE. It fits across the whole business. So working with colleagues and collaborating with various teams and departments, startup sustainability in my company, eventually got sustainability strategy in place and sustainability reporting. So I feel I come with good knowledge, practical experience to explain to you how sustainability can work as part of HSE department. Okay, Susie.
Thanks, Mark. Mark will definitely be your man throughout this webinar. I think he's hopefully for most of the participants here today, he'll be the ones who will be able to provide you with a good background, also personal background that he has there. So feel free to shoot questions. My name is Susanna. I am a ESG senior facilitator at Nextio Projects. I also joined last year. I predominantly work on sustainability strategies for our clients and also on sustainability reporting. I also work I tend to look at the whole sustainability pillars, and I personally have a background and interest in the S part of the ESG, so more on the social side and social sphere. And I personally enjoy working on diversity and employment standards within sustainability. And I will be joining Mark today on this webinar to bring a little bit more knowledge and understanding around specifically the social part of sustainability. For those of you who are not familiar with Nextio, we are an international sustainability consultancy, and we work with organizations on their journey from compliance to purpose. We mainly work on strategy development, which includes anything from materiality assessments to strategic implementations, looking at ESG gaps within your strategies and management systems. We also have a specific team solely on climate change. They help companies with CDP questionnaires, carbon footprinting, climate risk assessments, and we also help with ESG reporting and with ratings such as EcoVadis or ISO standards. If you would like to know more, you can also ask Margarita, or you can check the website, of course. So today, the agenda is going to be as follows. We're going to be looking at what is sustainability and providing some additional information around that. We will discuss why sustainability is needed, why it needs to be integrated within your companies. We'll discuss a little bit what we call a roadmap to sustainability. We'll talk about collaboration that is needed amongst your companies to really make sure that sustainability is integrated properly. And we'll also discuss a little bit around sustainability maturity. So to start off, we have a quick poll that I would like our participants to answer. So are you responsible for sustainability in your current role? You should see a poll in front of you. We can give it a minute for people to answer. I see numbers are still coming in. I see a lot of, yes, I'm responsible for reporting, or yes, part of my day-to-day tasks. That's really great to see. That means there's going to be a lot of hopefully useful information for all of you. Maybe give it 5 more seconds until everyone can put in their answers. Super. Great. We have 90% people have answered. So yeah, I think you should now see the result in front of you. Yeah, so most people here are, it's either they're fully responsible or it's part of their day-to-day tasks. That's great, Mark, right?
That's good. Yeah, it's good. And I suppose it'd be good to know if everyone was also directly a QHC person or just working in sustainability. But yeah, it's good that you're working under sustainability.
Well, maybe if they are directly QHC, that they can let us know in the chat.
Yeah.
Great, then I think we can jump in to our first topic, and I leave it to you, Mark.
Yeah, so this little introduction to sustainability. Maybe if you all work in it already, maybe you know what I'm going to tell you, but still I'm sure some people will hopefully learn something new. So I guess sustainability comes out of sustainable development. We don't hear about sustainability development quite as much as the word sustainability. But one definition of sustainable development comes from the Brundtland report to the UN back in 1987. It talks about development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So if we break this down a little bit, it talks about the needs of the present. So this is the sort of social side of sustainability, that what needs we have, that people are all have enough to eat, that they have a safe place to live in, security, they've got medical care, they've got education. But to get these things, everyone to live a nice, protected lifestyle that we have maybe in Western Europe or America, this takes resources, it takes energy, and which then can have an impact on the environment, by whether it's through pollution or extraction of resources. So if we all want to live nice and happily, it has to be done sustainably, not so that the future generations will have something to work with. So this brings us on to what was my definition of sustainability is sustainability is the application of the principles of sustainable development in business. So to bring in the social and environmental into business. There's many different ways of describing this. It's ESG is one topic, so environmental, social, and governance, or CSR, corporate social responsibility. Here I show you what is called the triple bottom line: the profit, people, and planet. People, planet, profit. So by not just focusing on profit, but also bringing in the planet, the environment, and people, the social, we get sustainability. So looking at from sustainable development perspective with people, people should be able to work in a company in a safe work environment and have a decent salary, decent living that they can make from their job. And also the supply chain within that business is also providing that social support to employees within their supply chain. And on the planet, that to do their work for a company, to do their operations, that they're not impacting through pollution or excessive use of fossil fuels, creating air emissions unnecessarily, or using conflict minerals, for example. So by operating with sustainability in mind, and sustainable development in mind, the company can contribute to sustainable development. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily happening at the moment. There's a huge increase in population of the world in the last 20 years, up 27% to nearly 8 billion people. For me, which is quite a scary statistic, as the temperature rise already at 1.1 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and 1.5 degrees Celsius, what the Paris Agreement is hoping us to stay at, to live in a safe environment. So we're not too far off that, and at current rates we will hit that sooner than later. Out of the 9 planetary boundaries for habitable Earth, 4 already been hit. And so it's yeah, there is definitely a need for sustainability. 63% of increase in pesticide, for example, so pollinators impacted by that. 49% increase in mineral extraction. Everyone wants their iPhones, this creates minerals. Also, that's the destruction, the impact that, and then 20% species extinction potential already. So not looking good. So something needs to be done. There are a lot of global initiatives already in place. You may know some of these logos already. On the environmental side, the IPCC, dealing with climate change, the Paris Agreement, the recent COP26 in Glasgow. There's also the Convention on Biological Diversity, which is the biodiversity version of the IPCC. On the social side, the UN has the International Labour Organization, Human Rights Declaration, World Food Programme, and more recently, the Partnership for Global LGBTQTI Equality. So there are a lot of global initiatives in place. And the SDGs is another part of that then, which gathers all these global initiatives and sets out goals that the world can achieve more sustainable development and sustainability. So the social here again, you have on the top level here, 1 to maybe 5 or 6, the social, no poverty, no hunger, good health, education. They also bring business in here. So this economic part, the profit part of the bottom line, 8 and 9 talk about good jobs and decent, good jobs and economic growth and innovation and infrastructure. And environmental side, 13, 14, 15, climate, protecting water and protecting land. So in here, say business is part of this. This is coming from the UN. It recognizes that business is part of the sustainable development solution to improve the world's economy, world environment and social problems. So that is maybe why companies need to engage in sustainability. But also purely on economics side of things, major corporations are getting more involved with it. These corporations are maybe getting pressure, we'll say, from the world leaders to improve their performance. And this is trickling down to smaller companies across the world. There's already nearly $55 billion of green funds floating around. So there's money there being made in the financial markets. 80% of the large corporations are realizing that climate change is going to impact on their business. And that's resulting in over 2,000 companies getting involved with the SBTI, setting genuine science-based targets for emissions reductions. And then over half of all American top 500 companies are interacting with SDGs. And they're also realizing that the supply chain is important. So smaller companies are feeling that they must also be involved with sustainability, because larger corporations realize that it's their supply chain where they have to tackle to improve their performance. 90% of companies are looking at that. And then also 83% of board directors are considering or assessing or reviewing sustainability within their business. So as you can see, it is a large part of the new world view. And then, so I suppose it's interesting to see within companies themselves then why sustainability is going on. There are many drivers for companies to engage in sustainability. And I guess that's one of the reasons why maybe you're also on this webinar today, because your company is engaging in it or feeling some pressure that they must start engaging on sustainability. Nextio has in previous webinars and research done some questionnaires of participants, why are they interested in sustainability, or what's the driver in the company. Mission and value is top, which is interesting. This shows that actually it's coming from internal, not just the pressures from external stakeholders, for example. So it's good that mission and values are a driver for sustainability in a company. But also, I guess, fair enough, compliance regulations is important. There's a lot of new rules and regulations have come in over the last number of years, for example, the Whistleblower Act, Recent Whistleblower Act, or Modern Slavery Act in the UK. So you must look at modern slavery in your supply chain, and anti-corruption legislation as well. So these are all parts of ESG that drive sustainability within companies. Reputational gains can be important. Yeah, sometimes maybe it's a bit of greenwash, but companies have to be seen to be sustainable. And which I think is important here is meeting stakeholder expectations. For example, many investment companies want their investment companies to be involved with a carbon disclosure project, CDP, or work with EcoVadis. And with that, then companies must improve their sustainability performance. Or also, if you're a client of if you're a supplier of a major manufacturer or Fortune 500 company, they may ask for you to participate in these programs or to improve your sustainable performance. Also, sustainability can be a market advantage. You can maybe sell more environmentally friendly products for other reasons. So maybe I think there's a question from Susie now. And what do you think is your company's main driver? Is that right, Susie?
Yeah. Sorry, would you like me to put the poll out?
I think there was a question now.
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone should be able to see the question in front of them now. So why is your company engaging in sustainability? Is it the mission and vision values? Is it complying with regulations, perhaps commercial gains, or as Mark just mentioned, to meet stakeholder expectations? I think stakeholder expectation is often what we see also with some of our clients. We predominantly work with EcoVadis, which is often prompted by their stakeholders. In a supply chain, EcoVadis is something that is definitely of value to a lot of companies, and they're looking at your overall sustainability management systems. But I'll give it a couple more seconds for people to answer to put in their answers. I think everyone is in now. Thank you very much. So part of the mission and vision values, that's amazing. I think that really shows that this is becoming an importance to the company rather than being driven by external forces. What do you think about that, Mark?
That's great to see. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, but I guess that reflects also on the research that we did before.
I hope that's a good surprise.
A good surprise. Yeah, no, it's great because it's not just being told by your shareholders to do it, and it's coming from the grassroots up, which I think definitely helps to drive it through the company. And then I guess that implies that the senior management and the board of directors are interested in it as well, which is vital to get sustainability going in a company. Yeah,
and also to maybe linger a little bit on for commercial gains. While it's always good that it comes from more the company DNA, so more from the mission and values, it is, of course, engaging in sustainability will in turn short-term, long-term bring commercial gains as well. So hope that everyone realizes that as well, that it's not just about meeting certain expectations, but ultimately it is good for business. Yeah, definitely. I think that's certainly in my previous experience trying to sell sustainability in a company, creating extra value was never the winner to get more engagement with sustainability. I think that this has to come from internal desire for senior management. Actually, maybe they realize they have to do something. Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much for our participants for sharing your insight. Great. Okay, yeah, that's thank you. Yeah, so I think now we've moved on to maybe the core of the presentation. That was more the background and why we need sustainability and why it's happening in our organization. The next few slides, we've got a model here of how sustainability can come into your business and how you can integrate it into your organization. And this is the five steps we have here for this. Similar enough to
how you might look at the plan, do, check, act Deming cycle that's used, maybe you're aware from the ISO management systems. Yeah, so the first two steps here is more the planning side of it. So defining materiality and policies and planning, step 2. Materiality really is understanding what are the important topics, what are sustainability topics that your company might impact on, and what stakeholders want to know about your business. Policies and plans, when you understand what are the important policies, you can then put in place, plan to implement that within your company. The do part of it is to take action. So it's all well and good to have the plans, but you have to actually implement something and make an improvement. The checking then is measuring what's happening, the KPIs, sustainability KPIs, and reporting and verifying is also part of that, the checking. The acting, I guess, is sustainability, as I keep saying, is a journey. It's never going to end. It's going to continue, and it's always evolving. And the improvement is always there, and it comes back around to improving your system over time. So what we're going to do is go through all of these steps individually in more detail. Susanna will take defining materiality, and then I'll come back and address the following points.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so with regards to materiality, this is really the foundation for companies to realize what you should be focusing on. What is material to you? What is material to your stakeholders? What is material to your customers, to your employees? It will really set the basis for your policies and your strategy going forward. So materiality really defines why and how certain issues are important for a specific company or a specific industry. This is because they can have a really large impact on financial and reputational aspects, and also at the overall performance of your company. And for that reason, as I mentioned, it's really important to find out where the biggest impact lies, and this is done through a materiality analysis. What I'd firstly like to show you is that I'm going to show you two examples of two different frameworks. One is EcoVadis and one is GRI, which is a reporting framework. And in here, you can really see that sustainability in terms of material topics is much more than only environment. And if you engage with your stakeholders and you compare material topics with, for example, companies in your industry, you will start seeing that the topics also include social and governance spheres. Depending on the framework that you use, the pillars might be named differently, which you will see in the next slide with the GRI, but they all include social and governance issues along with the environmental ones. So for example, EcoVadis divides the material topics in environment, labor and human rights, ethics, and sustainable procurement. And within sustainable procurement, they divide it into specific focus on the environmental issues, as well as the social issues in the supply chain. And these frameworks, both EcoVadis and GRI, they really work at looking at industry standards. They've conducted materiality analysis, they've conducted stakeholder engagement. So these are overall topics that your companies should be focusing on. And then it is up to you to go and take it and conduct your own analysis and find out what it is that is important for your specific business. So for GRI, you can see that they categorize the sustainability topics a little bit differently. They have it in 3 different pillars: the environment, social, and economic, with ethical compliance and procurement falling under the economic ones. So as you may have noticed, they're named differently, but the topics are essentially the same for each framework. And looking at these frameworks, or looking at material topics through frameworks such as EcoVadis and GRI, or SASB, MSCI, or SDG, is a really good step to understand the context and identify which topics may be relevant for your specific company. And you can start asking yourself, where is it that we really have an impact? So this should be an overall picture. These are the main topics you should start considering before you conduct a more in-depth analysis. And it's really, really recommended to conduct a stakeholder engagement as part of your materiality analysis, because only through a stakeholder engagement, you can really understand what is important to both your internal and external stakeholders. This really, as I mentioned, includes employees or investors or your customers, because without their input, you might be missing some of the more detailed or more niche areas that you as a business might not consider. And also, this is why sometimes the social and governance side might fall on the side a little bit. And it's considering sustainability holistically will really make your business more sustainable in the long run. So jumping into conducting materiality analysis. So through a materiality analysis, you can really start asking yourself questions such as, where are we now and where are we going? Who are our key stakeholders and what they care about? And where should we focus our efforts and resources? This is crucial so that you don't put your efforts and resources into something that is not going to have a big impact. It would be a shame. You would create new policies, you will create new strategies on something that is probably not so material for your company. So through the process, you identify and prioritize the most relevant sustainability topics. And you will consider each one of the sustainability topics and what effect it has on your organization and your stakeholders. So on the screen, you see two examples of how you can conduct a materiality analysis. There's other ways as well. These are just two examples that prove to be quite easy to use. So the first one, you can see that there's a graph and the material topics are divided on it depending on what influence the topic has on the stakeholders. Is it high or low? And then at the bottom, you would place your material topic dependent on the impact significance. So how likely and how significant would the impact be? And the material topics are then seen in the right-hand corner, where the influence on the stakeholders is high and the impact significance is also high. And this is how companies can map out the different topics and see what it is really that you should be prioritizing on. It doesn't mean that the other topics are not important, but it means that they might just not be important at this time for the stakeholders you have at the moment, for the size of the company you are at the moment. So it's also really important to conduct materiality analysis on an ongoing basis. Best practice is to really do it on a yearly basis, just to mark any changes that may have happened to your companies. The second example is more looking at the importance to external and the importance to internal stakeholders. And once again, in the right top corner, where the importance for internal and external is high, that's where your priority or your material priority topics should lie, and those are the ones you should be focusing on. We actually do have a full webinar dedicated to the topic of materiality, so if Margarita hasn't shared it yet, maybe she can share it now, or you can let us know if you'd like to see it, and then we can share the link with you. But in a nutshell, the concept of moving away from thinking that sustainability is only about environment is very visible once you conduct a materiality analysis and engage with your stakeholders, because you will start to see that there's other topics that arise from this research. For example, looking at two examples of two companies. So here we have put an oil exploration company and consulting services. You might see that the different industries will have different material topics once a proper materiality analysis is conducted. While some of these may overlap, so for example, for labor, a lot of these have to do with your internal stakeholders. So this will be the topics that are important for your employees, most likely. There's also some overlap with sustainable procurement. This is because both social and environmental topics should be considered within your supply chain, but we really start seeing the difference with environment and ethicals. Environment, I'm sure that many of our participants do know that this one is, it's quite extensive. There's a lot of different topics in there, but what you can see is that for consulting service, it's really, really important to consider your energy consumption, your greenhouse gas emissions, because that's where you have the biggest impact. You would not necessarily look at pollution or materials and chemicals or your waste, because it's not a high impact for your internal stakeholders. you don't have the opportunity to do something about that topic as highly as maybe an oil company would. For this reason, once again, it's important. Materiality analysis will help you to determine and define where it is that you should be putting your focus on so that you do not focus on the wrong things. And also to understand what other topics beyond health and safety, beyond environment, are things that your company should be focusing because you might have an impact there.
Okay.
Right. Maybe you can go towards policies and plans.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Susan. That was wonderful. Yes, picking up from that, from materiality, you've got these topics in place. So after materiality is, you've gone through the 40 plus lists of potential topics within GRI. Maybe that's down to 10, 15 or 20 that is relevant to your company. Then you need to, I suppose, put in place a way of integrating that into your business and making sure that you are aligning your strategy or your plans to minimize your impact in those particular areas. Starting out, it's worth doing, first of all, doing a gap analysis, a mini gap analysis, see what you already have in place for a particular topic. If you're environmental manager or HSE manager, you may already have a lot of place for the HSE side of things. Even on HR may already have a lot of things in place from the social HR perspective. So do a gap analysis, see what, say, GRI says you should have, could have, what you do already have. That's a good start. You can also benchmark against some competitors. Go back there, sorry, it's okay. Yeah, you can benchmark back with your competitors if they have some sustainability reports in place, and also have a look at what maybe your main customers are doing. And that'll give you some more ideas where you maybe need to put some actions in place. Policies for each of your materiality topics. You probably already know what policy is going to be like for safety, for example. So you've got a safety statement, you've got your objective of zero incidents, your targets. But for all the different topics, you can create a similar one. Collaborate with your colleagues is important as well in different departments. For example, supply chain, you need to collaborate with them for if supply chain environmental impact is important, you must collaborate with different departments to get policies in place. And you need to put a plan in place then to achieve these objectives and targets. And as I already said, sustainability is a journey. You cannot overnight become a sustainable company at the highest level. So it's worth putting in place a multi-year plan. Let's set these targets across multiple years, and in between have smaller targets in place. And then it feels more achievable to take those steps in the right direction. Okay, moving on to actions then. Yeah, I mean, these are just some actions that are potentially in place for each company. It depends on your industry, what you need to do. I would say one of the most important ones to put in place is some action in relation to carbon emissions. That is applicable to all industries, all businesses. Yeah, trying to get as close to renewable energy as possible. But also in some industries may have different requirements, like using non-toxic chemicals or ISO certification. On the social side of things, you maybe have actions that are in relation to diversity initiatives, employment satisfaction surveys to understand that your employees are satisfied with their work and you're supporting them as much as possible. On business ethics and governance, whistleblower, way of people to raise any concerns of the business anonymously is important to have in place. And then sustainable procurement. It's an area where companies are generally not very well developed at the start of the sustainability journey, but it'd be quite simply put in place a sustainable policy that suppliers will align to your own code of conduct, integrate that into your contract with them or the terms and conditions, and also maybe do a supplier sustainability assessment. So on the onboarding side, you ask your suppliers, have they got in place sustainability practices, and that can be a good way of engaging with your suppliers on sustainability. Later on, auditing can come into play, maybe including sustainability questions as part of your quality audit of your suppliers. Okay, and then measuring impacts. And this is in some ways easy and also quite difficult to achieve. The information can sit across different departments and certainly different organizations, and it can take some time to gather data. But the thing is that if you're asked by your client or some rating scheme for data, you're expected to have it straight away, but it can take a while to organize it. So if you're going to maybe do one thing in the short term, is start gathering data, to actually, particularly for say the carbon footprint, gathering enough information for even electricity from multiple offices can be a challenge. I won't go into detail now, but it can take some time. So if you can start, one thing straight away would be to start measuring and start collecting KPIs. And then on the reporting side of things, I think that it's important that reporting is done internally and externally. At the start of your sustainability journey, we'll call it, internal reporting is probably easier to do and something you can achieve yourself. So with your sustainability KPIs, you can communicate them to your staff internally and try to get them presented up to senior management to raise more awareness of and create a higher profile of sustainability. You can also start benchmarking your organization against various different rating schemes. Maybe you're already using EcoVadis. That's a good way of getting a profile for sustainability in your company. If you get a good medal, it's good to be able to show that to senior management. They're very happy to see you get a gold medal. CDP is also a good tool to work with. On the reporting side, sustainability report is obviously the best way of communicating, but early on, in the sustainability program, you have to sort of takes maybe a year or two to get into that level of being able to report externally. On sustainability report, you may need some actions in place and some data already gathered to be able to do that. But sustainability report does not have to be a very highly detailed GRI compliant document. It can be a more modest report, 10 or 15 pages in the first year or two, if that is what is necessary to get your message out. So it was a quick spin through the roadmap. We got some further points ahead now about I think collaboration. I believe that was what some people would like to hear about today. So I'm going to jump into that. So we'll still have some time at the end for questions and answers. The main thing is, you probably already gathered, is that there's a lot of overlap in sustainability across the whole business. It is not just one department. It's not just QHSE department. It's not responsibility of the person who was the first day assigned to the EcoVadis assessment that they have to follow sustainability forever, which might happen in some companies. Everyone should be, every department in some ways is involved in sustainability, whether it's executive team, obviously, get their management buy-in first. They're involved with governance, operations. If you want to improve the sustainability of your raw products or your energy usage, you must engage with operations. HR are full responsibility for people and training, equity, equality. Procurement are needed to interact with them for the supply chain improvements. And then finance, they deal with the stakeholders and shareholders, sales with clients. All these things need working with all these departments to get sustainability integrated into the business. There are some challenges though. There can be resistance to change. People don't know much about sustainability, a little bit scared of it. A lot of companies have silos, departments. They don't want anything new, any changes. Senior management may not think it's important, but from your earlier question of maybe it is important if your mission and vision is already buying into sustainability. But there might be lacking of knowledge, sustainability culture in the business, or more importantly, lack of resources or time. If you're a lean company, you may not have the resources in place to do sustainability on top of your busy day job. Some solutions for this that I've worked on myself over the years. I guess one of the most important thing is senior management engagement with them and them to be engaged in sustainability. You can achieve this by identifying some senior manager who's got an interest in sustainability, who can champion it, bring it up to the executive level, maybe someone in sales. They see that the clients are looking at it, they can champion it more. Make them aware of activities that you're already doing. For example, share your KPIs, sustainability KPIs with them, try to get them into the board of directors reports. And a good thing is a sustainability committee, push to get one of them set up so that there's an interconnection between management and board directors so that sustainability is raised a lot higher up. I think self-sustainability among departments, as we've seen there, materiality, a lot of topics that are sustainable can actually already be in place in a business. For example, HR probably already looking at diversity within the company. If you tell them that is part of sustainability, they might be delighted. They're actually already sustainable. Safety is part of sustainability. If you're that maybe that's people think that's just safety, very safety focused company, that is part of sustainability as well. That can be championed that as part of one of your goals of sustainability. If safety is one of the pillars of your organization. And sell maybe the cost benefit, cost benefit analysis of doing sustainable improvements. Obviously, energy efficiency is a win-win for both sustainability and for business saving money. Upskilling, increase knowledge of your own team, of yourself. Also try to get sustainability is part of the training plan for everyone in the company, or do some presentations. And then on the shop floor again, not just senior management people involved in sustainability, get everyone in the company involved with it. If you've got a lot of offices, maybe get a sustainability ambassador to help out as well. Workshopping can be very useful. If you're looking at materiality analysis, for example, don't do it yourself. Try to get different department representatives in place and collaborate with them. That's an opportunity to explain what sustainability is. Again, each department try to get some champions, someone who can work with to go to. And then consultants. I guess there are some technical items where you may need help from external consultants. For example, creating your carbon footprint the first year round. It can be complicated, technically difficult. Get some external support to help in that. And senior management sometimes like consultants there to give some reassurance that it's been done correct as well. So if you can get budget for that, it's certainly useful. Okay. Come to the end, and you've probably all seen this before, maybe you have, about how mature your company is in relation to sustainability. This is the next year version of it. So you can see it's kind of a startup of pre-compliance, compliance, beyond compliance, level 4 integrated, and then purpose-driven. Compliance here means just being sustainable as opposed to legally compliant. As a company integrates sustainability into their business a bit more, they become up this curve higher up. Pre-compliance, it relates to a company that's purely profit-driven, does not have any interest in anything that is bettering the environment or bettering staff. So use the cheapest and worst toxic chemicals and pay your staff the least amount of money just to maximize profit. Compliance is a company that is they're doing all the good things, but it's more ticking the boxes, reacting to requests from the stakeholders for information or for improvement, but not really driven internally. Beyond compliance, maybe a company has got more of a sustainability strategy, has already put in place some improvement actions, say carbon footprint reduction programs, employee engagement, maybe issued a sustainability report. Level 4, integrated. This is a company that has been at sustainability for many years. They already have the sustainability in place for a long time, a sustainability strategy. They've done a life cycle analysis of their products. They've seen where the biggest impact is. They have a plan to remove that from their supply chain and from their processes, and a good genuine focus on the social good of their staff and society in general. And purpose driven, I guess this is the top pinnacle. This is like maybe just a social enterprise company. That's the reason to exist, is to be sustainable. So I guess, so maybe you're all aiming to get to that level. So it'd be interesting, I think, to see where you yourself feel your company is at the moment.
Yeah, let me launch the poll. So if I can ask our participants for the last time to engage in our poll, where do you place yourself in your organization on the sustainability maturity curve? Pre-compliance, compliance, beyond compliance, integrated, and maybe we even already have some purpose-driven organizations. See, mostly pre-compliance, compliance, beyond compliance seem to be the most common answers. I'll give it 10 more seconds so people can put their answers in. Great. I think that's everyone in there. Oh, we do have one purpose-driven. I would love to know who that is. That's amazing. Let me share the results. Yeah, so mostly pre-compliance and beyond compliance. That's really great that we have some beyond compliance here.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what you were expecting for the participants today, Mark.
Yeah, I guess it's good that the participants are here to learn, and you can integrate these systems into your company. Working in pre-compliance can be a bit challenging if you feel yourself that you want to be greener and want to be working in a company that has got this higher social values in place. But it's also an opportunity to hone your skills and to take this best practice and put it into play, which is also good.
Yeah.
And certainly with compliance and beyond compliance, you're in a company that has embraced these topics, and you can also work on good, interesting projects to improve sustainability within your business. So I'd be interested to see who is the purpose-driven.
Yeah, if you like, you can put that in the chat. We'd love to know.
Yeah.
Great. Some key
this is just a quick summary before we move on to the Q&A. So I think the main thing is to collaboration. I think is key. It's very important that you can collaborate among different departments. Cover all elements of ESG, so this materiality. Make sure you're looking at the environmental, social, and governance. Go beyond just the HSE. Identify your KPIs and goals. So speaks for itself. Get the knowledge, get the information and statistics in place. Again, align with the other departments. Work with them on opportunities for improvement. Collect it and share the data. So get the data and then present it, whether internally or externally, in a sustainability report, and then continue engagement and continue the process of improvement.
Super, thank you. I think we have a few moments for Q&As. So I saw that some people have already added their questions into the Q&A box. So maybe we can see how many we can answer. I think, Mark, the first one might be for you. A participant is asking if it's better to look at sustainability while trying to implement an environmental system, or do you implement the EMS, then start looking at sustainability? So which one is better to do first?
I think this, you really must look at environmental as being part of sustainability. And so there, while you should look at them both at the same time. EMS is there. Yeah, it takes time to get an environmental impact assessment ISO in place. But part of that also is obviously looking at the Deming cycle, plan, do, check, act, which can then be used as part of helping sustainability management system. If you're looking at ISO in general, so including the 9001 quality, that also helps with sustainability, because that also integrates with the training of staff and then operations. So it's a possibility of integrating together all the management systems with sustainability.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Thanks for the answer. Before we move into the next questions, I would also just like to ask our participants to please fill in a feedback form that we will send. It's just quick couple questions that will help us for the next webinars. So I believe Margarita will be sending that right now. If you can take a moment to do that as we're closing off the webinar, that would be great. Thank you very much.
I think I see a nice question here about provide examples of the composition of the Sustainability Committee. That's a good question. Thanks, Antonia. Yeah, this is important. So this should be the leaders of the company, yeah, the director level and above. And ideally, it is crossing representatives of all departments. So you have your HR, supply chain, operations, legal governance side of things. So, and also HSE, if that sits at the director level as well. This they can report up to the CEO. So that's the general composition of the Sustainability Committee. That works well.
Yeah, and there's also, I think from some experience, it's good to have someone from the C-suite, if that's possible, just to oversee the committee, or at least that there's good regular communication channels between those two, because yes.
Sure, yeah. So it's either director or VP level of all the departments, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that. There's also a question about which countries are at the forefront in adapting sustainability and which countries are some that are behind. I think we can probably agree that in EU, this is something that's probably a bit more at the forefront compared to other countries. There's some directives we have in place, a lot of national laws as well in France and the UK. To name a few, that are pushing for sustainability practices to be placed in private companies. They're also pushing for reporting regulations. Yeah,
the US is quite often more advanced with the governance side of things, though, I believe, my experience, and anti-corruption maybe more.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the drivers are just a little bit different in different countries, but it's definitely becoming a more of a regular thing, especially in the EU. And we do see ourselves that it is being pushed more and more within regulations. There's talks at the both national and international levels to really push for more sustainable practices. So even if you do come from a country where it might not be the standard yet, it is predicted that this is something that will likely become a regulation and you might have to comply in the future. So I think generally, I don't know if you agree, Mark, it's always good to try to not only reach the compliance, but always do go beyond to kind of have one step ahead.
Yeah, of course, yes. And I guess that comes out of your materiality analysis and your planning and what is best practice internationally or in your industry, not just to focus on the local legislation, because you're in a global economy. Yeah, your suppliers is sitting, your customers are sitting in different parts of the world, not just locally, and their expectations may be much higher than the national government wants. So make sure your materiality matches what your stakeholders are looking for as much as what the legal requirement is. Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. Unfortunately, we are coming to an end of the webinar, so I don't think we do have time for one more question. But if you feel like your question was not answered or you would like to know a little more, then feel
please feel free to get in touch with us. Once again, I would like everyone to remind them to fill in the feedback form, which will be very helpful for us. And if there was also some unanswered questions, then our marketing team can reach out to you and provide you with an answer and any support you might need.
Yes.
But yes, at the closing, I would just like to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope that this was fruitful. I hope that this was insightful. And if you have any other questions, do please reach out to Nexio. We are more than happy to help out with any of your sustainability strategies. I don't know if you have any closing remarks, Mark.
No, it's been, that's everything. We can certainly answer any of your questions offline as well if necessary.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you very much. And I wish everyone a nice day or a nice evening, depending where you are.
Yes, I look forward to enjoy the rest of St. Patrick's Day.
You too, Mark. Bye.
Bye.